Welcome, pod.
Welcome back in to TCM Pod. Chris and Spencer Mathis, glad that you guys have joined us once again as we get more into the NFL. Before we look forward to Week 11 here, starting this Thursday night, a very good AFC matchup, Spence. We want to kind of backtrack a little bit to what we saw in Week 10, obviously with Monday night's game as the Buffalo Bills hosted the Denver Broncos. And, coming into the season, we all probably thought, hey, Buffalo's going to run away with this one, or they should run away with it considering Sean Payton's Denver Broncos gave up 70, not 40, 70 points just a few weeks ago. And some way, somehow they bounced back. And you know what? We saw a firing earlier on Tuesday with the offensive coordinator, Ken Dorsey of the Buffalo Bills, after Josh Allen had a bad outing. And the offense had a bad outing on Monday Night Football against the Denver Broncos. But Josh Allen now leads the league in interceptions, Spence. He's had an interception in 6 consecutive games. And on top of that, dating back to 2018, he's had the most games with 3 or more turnovers. He's had 10 games with 3 or more turnovers dating back to 2018. And I feel as if, maybe this Josh Allen turnover situation has been underlooked. I know his first couple of years he was slow, and then they had Brian Daboll, and he was able to help elevate him to the next level in year 3. But at the end of the day, I think that these have always been problematic, these turnovers for Josh Allen. But the Bills have won games. This year, now that they're starting to lose games, I think it's getting more of negative connotation. The connotation, honestly, it deserves, because if this were Jameis Winston and Jameis wasn't winning like he was here in Tampa Bay, you're talking about all these turnovers even dating back to last year. So I feel like maybe this has been kind of fabricated by the wins that the Buffalo Bills have had over the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. At this point in his career, Josh Allen right now should have, if he is the elite talent that we thought he was, at least last year with their offensive coordinator that they did such a good job with, and the year before that with Brian Daboll. If he was exactly what people thought he was, which was a top 3 quarterback in the NFL heading into this season, I think the turnovers by now would have been eliminated. The thing is right now he's looking on the same career path as Jameis Winston. Obviously, he's not as many turnovers. But then again, I mean, the Bills are a good team, like you said. They're going to still win games. They're 5-5. They're probably going to find their way in the playoffs at some point. And the good thing about Josh Allen is he's a very streaky quarterback. So if he can get something going, which I'm sure will happen down the stretch, they're going to be in the playoffs. Of course, I don't think that a quarterback that turns the ball over as many times as a guy like Josh Allen or Jameis Winston do, they're not going to win a Super Bowl unless you've got a great running game, you've got a great defense. The Bills right now do not have a good running game, and their defense is badly injured. So badly injured that DeMar Hamlin played a couple of snaps last night. That shows you that Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer are both dealing with injuries, because on most teams, he's not on the 53-man roster. So for the Bills to give up 25 points to the Denver Broncos and Russell Wilson, like you said, they're a different team. Russell Wilson's top 4 in basically every statistical category right now, which is kind of crazy. But then again, he's also played an extra game than everybody. I think people forget that. But again, I mean, you look at the Broncos, and they're not up to par with the Buffalo Bills. They should not be a team beating the Bills. But the thing is, the Bills are not as good as they should be, and I think Josh Allen plays a big part in that. And right now, it's looking a lot like Jameis Winston over there in Buffalo. Again, a guy that is fun to watch and a guy that turns the ball over a lot, scores a lot. But this year, it just seems that he's not having all those flashy plays. It's mostly just turnovers that we're seeing again. Like every quarterback, though, tipped interceptions happen often for this guy. Same thing with Jameis Winston in his 30-30 season. At least 10 of those passes were tipped. But it doesn't matter. It's the stat sheet, and turnovers lose you games in the NFL. And right now, that's basically all we're seeing out of Josh Allen, and it's really hurting their team. 5-5 in the AFC. I mean, right now, they're not sitting in a good spot to make the playoffs, especially in the division that they're in. So we'll see how this goes down the stretch. But again, that conference is tough. And right now, they're looking like a fringe wild card team, and I don't know if it's going to get any better for them based off of their next 5 games. And again, next week they go up against the New York Jets defense, a team they should beat. But again, they just lost to the Denver Broncos. Would they beat New York Jets? We don't know. And maybe Zach Wilson has a big game, and they fall to 5-6, which would be a travesty for a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. And Josh Allen, who has a pretty decent team around him and a great head coach. They shouldn't be 5-5 at this point in the season. I think he plays a big part in that.
Yeah, no doubt. And looking at Josh Allen, his stats this year, 19 passing touchdowns, 11 interceptions already. And it's just frustrating to see this. And we know that Josh Allen's a very talented guy. And I feel as if, not necessarily on Monday night, but the weeks prior, they were trying to limit how many hits he took, how many times he ran the ball. And if you take that away, I'm not going to say he's average, but he's not elite by any means. So you do need to have him running the football, which I never thought I'd say. I know he's obviously a freak athlete and he's big and he's quick for his size, but I was worried about him getting hurt. You can't limit that. You really just got to let him do that. We saw it on Monday night. He was able to scramble in for a touchdown there, and the Broncos had no answer for that. But Josh Allen with Stephon Diggs in that situation, that relationship has been on men's for a while now. You see so many times that these teams are on prime time, and Stephon Diggs is crybabying about not getting the ball or not scoring a touchdown, and then his brother takes to Twitter on Monday night and says, practically in a roundabout way, get him out of Buffalo, which is baffling to me, and I hate that that's the society of these pro athletes, and unfortunately, it's kind of become the narrative for most top-tier wide receivers. They're divas. And even though this is not necessarily Stephon Diggs in this case, it's his brother Trayvon Diggs out of Dallas who's talking for him to social media, and then also tweeted early Tuesday morning about, get him out. Josh Allen wasn't balling before Stephon Diggs got to Buffalo. So, it is frustrating to see, and I would like to see them bounce back and try to figure things out. Now, one team that did bounce back here this weekend, in Week 10 on Sunday, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers finally snapped a 4-game losing skid as Baker Mayfield got it done. I mean, he looked really good. He did have an interception early as he was trying to hit Trey Palmer down the seam, practically threw it in quadruple coverage, which is not a good decision to make no matter what. But the Buccaneers snapped the 4-game losing skid. They haven't had a 5-game losing skid since 2017. So it was obviously big for the Bucs. They beat the Tennessee Titans, but more importantly, they slowed down rookie quarterback Will Levis. The Bucs have had issues trying to slow down quarterbacks like that, rookie quarterbacks with not a lot of film at the NFL level. And they also held Derrick Henry to 24 yards on 11 carries, Spence, and they prevailed 20-6, the final score.
Yeah, go back to that picture real fast. I like that photo because it makes Baker Mayfield look like he's 6'6" and he's towering over Mike Evans. He's a 6-foot-tall quarterback, and the thing is, Baker Mayfield, a good game last week. He's had a pretty good season this year. It's just that the team hasn't been able to click on all cylinders in every single game, and the Texans game was the big one. And that, I mean, the Buccaneers right now are 4-5. They could be 5-4. They could even be 6-3. But at the same time, they could also be worse. But the games that they should have won, a lot of them have gotten away. The Atlanta Falcons game they should have won. The Texans game they should have won. Right now, if you're looking at the Buccaneers, a big victory versus the Tennessee Titans. I was hoping the offense put up more than 20 points against a pretty bad Titans team. Regardless, it's a victory for Tampa. And right now, Baker Mayfield is looking at the most important game of his career against the San Francisco 49ers on this Sunday, because this could be a career game for Baker Mayfield. Not in terms of numbers he puts up, but if they win this game, I think that gives the Buccaneers even more confidence moving forward. And if the Bucs make the playoffs this season, I mean, I know a lot of people don't want to keep Todd Bowles. You may even still be able to finagle a way out of him, even if you make the playoffs and lose. But for Baker Mayfield's sake, if they make the playoffs this season for the Buccaneers, and it's going to start this week against the 49ers, you have to win this game. If you make the playoffs and you're Baker Mayfield, the Buccaneers do not have a top 15 pick in next year's draft. They have a top 16, a top 18 pick if they're the first team out of the playoffs. So this could mean a victory on Sunday for Mayfield. This could end up in a contract extension for him next season. And I don't think a lot of Buccaneers fans would be upset at that, because he's shown that he can ball. He's a pretty good quarterback. Obviously, I think right now he's at the bridge gap quarterback point, but he also, with a victory on Sunday and a berth in the playoffs for Tampa Bay, he could be that quarterback that, if he becomes more consistent, a top 15 quarterback in the league. Right now, I think he's around that area, but with consistency, eventually he could be a top 10. And if he could get settled into this offense with Dave Canales, and if they could form a run game, his numbers would be so much better than they are right now. The Bucs are 9 games for the season. He only has 5 interceptions. I think at the beginning of the season, if you told anybody in Tampa that, any of the media, any of the fans, I think you'd be happy with what you've seen out of Baker Mayfield this season. And a victory on Sunday against a very good 49ers team, regardless of if they've lost 4 of the last 5 games, if you're the 49ers. And the same thing with the Bucs. 2 struggling teams that both picked up big wins last Sunday. The 49ers, a lot bigger than the Buccaneers. They put up 35 points and only gave up 3. It's going to be a tall task for Baker Mayfield and the Bucs, but if he can have a game and make this manageable and maybe even win the game against a top NFC team, regardless of their last 5 games with San Francisco, this is a huge game for Baker Mayfield. We may see him as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback in the 2024 season as well. And if you make the playoffs with him, he ends the season with less than 10 interceptions and over 25 touchdowns. I mean, you couldn't even be upset as a Buccaneers fan. You can only see this offense grow with the talent that they have. So a huge game on Sunday for Tampa Bay and a chance to right the ship, make them 500. And I believe 500 this Sunday would put the Buccaneers in first place in the division, even if Atlanta were to win. I think the Saints are on a bye week this week. This is the biggest game of the season. It's unfortunate the Bucs lost last week against the Texans, but this week against San Francisco, against the 49ers, if you win this game, you're right back at the top, and Baker Mayfield's right up there in negotiations for a contract extension probably on Monday morning after the victory.
Yeah, and obviously you talk about the week prior, they did fall short to the Texans, bounce back with a win this past weekend over the Titans. Now they look forward to San Francisco on the road. 4:05 kickoff, which also adds more to the situation, more to what's going on here because, you talk about the time difference and having to get accommodated and, playing on the road in a very hostile environment there at Levi Stadium. So it will be interesting to see how this all shakes out. The Bucs, I think that they first and foremost have a challenge with their coach in this game against head coach of the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan. I think right off the bat, you're outnumbered, you're outbeat in terms of, head coach capabilities and what they're able to do. And yeah, Kyle Shanahan did not win the big game with the Atlanta Falcons as the offensive coordinator a few years ago, but he got them to the dance. San Francisco has been practically to the dance, and they've been there. They haven't won yet, but they've been there. They've been deep in the playoffs. So this is a team that's been experienced over the last couple of years and a team that really plays fundamentally sound football. And then they added Chase Young at the trade deadline a few weeks ago, who looks like he might have a revamp of his career, which is crazy to say. He's been battling injuries throughout his young NFL career, but here he is. And you know what? He goes against a very weak interior offensive line. The outside has been pretty decent for the Bucs. I believe Pro Football Focus has them inside the top 12 now overall, but that interior starting with Robert Hainsey, Cody Malk, not been too hot. And then Aaron Stinney got beat this past week a few times against Tennessee with Simmons, understandably so. But, it could be a field day. It comes down to Baker Mayfield protecting the football, and I know that's so cliche, and also trying to establish a rushing attack. And you know what? If you can't actually run the football, little quick passes out of the backfield to Rachaad White have been a proven supplement to replace that. And it's working. We saw Rachaad White take it, 43 yards to the house. I think according to Next Gen Stats, he had a 5% chance of doing so when he caught that ball and took it the distance for a touchdown. So, and on top of that, you look at the Bucs, Baker threw an interception. You're probably looking at least 3 more points there on that drive if you didn't throw that pick, if not converting that first down and eventually scoring a touchdown. Bucs defense has looked solid all year, so it comes down to the offensive side of the ball in this one. I think that they can do a good enough job defensively. Yeah, they're going to have their hands full, but if they can apply some pressure to Brock Purdy, they've got a shot. And I know Brock Purdy, he's pretty well against the blitz packages, and when he's under pressure, I think that helps the secondary, and the Bucs were able to hold out Carlton Davis this past week against Tennessee. Hopefully he'll be closer to 100% this time around when he's having to play against guys like Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk on Sunday on the road. So, as you said, I like the way you put this. Huge game for Baker Mayfield and the Bucs, potentially leads to a new contract, which that's what Baker ultimately wants. He's been careful with his words, but at this point in his career, he's bounced around from team to team. He wants to solidify himself with the team in the NFL and prove that he's still a starting quarterback. And if it's not in Tampa Bay, if they can't pay him the money that he wants or that he desires, there are going to be teams out there that look at what he's done so far this year and think, hey, we'd pay that guy more than the Bucs just offered.
Yeah, and right now he's trying to become what Geno Smith did last year with the Seattle Seahawks, and this year having another good season there in Seattle. They've got a good spot in the NFC West, battling with the 49ers for first place right now. And again, if you look at the Buccaneers team on offense, the weakness is the interior part of the offensive line. And if you're the Bucs and you find out that Baker Mayfield is your guy moving forward, in the draft, you can finally get a stud inside offensive lineman that you need. The Bucs run game would finally open up. And I know that us as Bucs fans and a lot of people on Twitter and in the Bucs media get tired of Tampa Bay running the football when they know they can't do it. But you got to think of it in this way, is that Baker Mayfield coming into this season was one of the best quarterbacks statistically in his career since 2018 at running the play action. Anytime he could get on the rollout, running out play action passes, it works out for a guy like Baker Mayfield who can't see well over the offensive line. And right now you're seeing that in Denver with Russell Wilson and the Broncos. if the Bucs could establish a run game and get that play action going, which would be the case next year because you would definitely draft offensive line in the first round for Tampa if you don't draft a quarterback. I mean, that would be a huge part of Tampa Bay being a better team next season. And again, me as a fan, I never wish for the Buccaneers to lose a game. And right now, you've still got a chance to make the playoffs. And that win last Sunday, although it was against a poor team, was huge. And it's going to be good watching the rest of the season. It's going to be fun to see if Todd Bowles can make changes as a defensive coordinator. And that's really all he's got to worry about. And the same thing goes with Dave Canales, because we've seen Trey Palmer get open on all these schemes over and over again this season, and Mayfield hasn't been able to hit him just yet. But once that connection cooks up, I think this Buccaneers offense goes and scores 7 extra points per game, because I think that guy's going to be a very good receiver in the NFL, especially as a number 3. And again, this Buccaneers offense is only going to continue to evolve. And I think last week we saw a lot of strides with the defense playing more man coverage against one of the best receivers in the NFL, and DeAndre Hopkins. So it's going to come down to if this Buccaneers coaching staff can grow and if Baker Mayfield can hit the rookie number 10, Trey Palmer, for Tampa Bay, and if maybe they can get that run game going. This team could be in the playoffs. Obviously, I don't think they're a team that's going to be sniffing the Super Bowl, but they could. I mean, if this team gets it going, even beat a wild card team in the NFC, because the NFC is not even near as strong as the AFC this season. And if the Bucs can get that going, it'd be interesting to see what the changes would be next year for Tampa. Would they keep Canales? Would you keep Todd Bowles? Hopefully you keep Baker Mayfield. Hopefully he has a good rest of the season. But at the same time, regardless, I think the Buccaneers are one of the most fun teams to watch right now, because it's either this team's going to stick together and they're going to be they're going to build on what they have right now, or next year it's a just complete different team and the Bucs are in rebuild mode. So that's a team to watch. Even if you're not a Buccaneers fan watching this podcast, it'll be fun to see how they do on Sunday against San Francisco and how they do moving forward in the 2023 season.
Yeah, San Francisco coming off a huge victory, as you talked about a few moments ago, against Jacksonville and the Jaguars, and made Trevor Lawrence look silly. He was struggling, but I want to take a look at our NFL Pigskin Pick'em here as we pick this week. Week 11's game, Spence. Already here to Week 11, as Thursday night will be November 16th. Just about a week, exactly a week away from Thanksgiving, which is crazy. Very much looking forward to Turkey Day and obviously the NFL games that'll be on as well. But Cincinnati, they'll take on the Baltimore Ravens Thursday Night Football this week, Spence. The Ravens 3.5-point home favorites over Joe Burrow and company.
Yeah, both teams looking for a bounce-back victory. I predicted both those games right last week, I believe, with the Ravens losing to the Cleveland Browns and the Texans somehow beating the Cincinnati Bengals, which was pretty impressive, a big victory for them. So both those teams looking for a bounce-back victory. In this game, I'm going to take Baltimore, though. I do believe that they are the better team in this matchup, and I think Lamar Jackson last week is kind of upset that he lost to Deshaun Watson and the Browns, and I think they'll bounce back a little bit better than what we see out of Cincinnati on Thursday.
Yeah, I'm also with you there. They're 7-3 talking about the Ravens. They're at home once again, which we know how dangerous it is there in Baltimore, and that crowd is insane. So I think they're going to prevail over the Ravens. The Bengals, their 5th loss of the season.
Dangerous team on the field and a dangerous city.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the safest spot, that's for sure. You hear about Logic. He grew up in that area. It was crazy. We'll save the Bucs game for last, and Sunday's game. The Tennessee Titans take on the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. 6.5-point favorite are the home team Jags.
Yeah, Jags by over 6.5 in that one easily.
I'm going to go with the Jags as well. Bounce back win here for Trevor Lawrence and company. They got to figure it out. I saw a stat comparing Baker Mayfield to Trevor Lawrence earlier this week, and Mayfield's got better stats right now. So looking here, continuing with the 1:00 games on Sunday, the Los Angeles Chargers play the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field. The Packers home point dogs, 3-point dogs to the Chargers.
I'll take the Chargers. I like what I saw out of them last week against the Detroit Lions. They ultimately lost the game, but I think that offense is so good, but the defense is just disgusting to watch. Giving up 38 points to Detroit. Obviously, Detroit's a good offensive power, but I mean, I'm still going to take the Chargers in this game, but they're not going to go anywhere this season, and I think it comes down to whoever they have a defensive coordinator, whatever they're doing defensively as a team. But give me the Chargers over 3 points against the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I'll take the Chargers with the spread on the road there in Green Bay on Sunday. The New York Giants, this is an ugly game here. Giants at Commanders, 1:00 kickoff. Commanders, 9.5-point favorites at home.
Yeah, I think this is the only time this season you're going to see the Commanders close to a 10-point favorite against anybody, and I think against anybody over the last 2 or 3 years for the Commanders before they were changed from the Redskins. But Give me the Commanders, and I know it's tough to say in the NFL, but definitely plus 9.5 against those Giants. I mean, that's a team obviously in tank mode with DeVito at quarterback. They've got nothing going for them whatsoever.
I'm going to take the Giants to do a backdoor cover. Commanders win, but I don't know if it's by 10 points or so. The Las Vegas Raiders take on the Dolphins in Miami. The Dolphins, big favorite, 12-point favorites at home.
Yeah, the Raiders riding high on their interim coach Pierce. It'll be interesting to see if they can compete against one of these top dogs like the Miami Dolphins. And the Dolphins do beat up on teams that aren't above 500. The Raiders have snuck their way back in. They're 5-5. They need a victory this week, though, because it's Kansas City next week for them. They could easily fall to 5-7. What was the spread in that game?
Yeah, 12 points, Dolphins.
I'm going to have to go with the Dolphins victory, but the Raiders are not going to lose by 12 points with their interim head coach Pierce.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Devontae Adams finally getting utilized. He looks really good. He's energetic. He's excited about the season. I'm going to take the Raiders with the backdoor cover. Dolphins win at home. The Cardinals take on the Texans in Houston. Kyler Murray is back, and the Cardinals are 4-point underdogs on the road.
I'm going to take the Texans in this game. I think it's going to be a good quarterback battle. Kyler Murray looked really good in his first game back against the Falcons. A big victory for Cardinals and a big victory for Bucs fans watching the Atlanta Falcons lose on Sunday. So in this game, I'm still going to go with C.J. Stroud riding the hot hand. I mean, in talks right now for the actual MVP of the year, Rookie of the Year. Just an incredible rookie season out of him. One of the best we've ever seen. So I'm going to continue to ride high on the Texans wave.
As you should. I also rock with you there, Spence. C.J. Stroud is insane. He's making the Panthers look like they made the wrong decision. It is still early, and, obviously he's got a better situation than Bryce Young has in Carolina. I'm going to take the Texans to win. Chicago Bears at Detroit Lions. The Lions 9.5-point favorites there in the Motor City.
Yeah, another game where I'm going to take over 9.5. I'm going to take the Lions in that one easily.
I'm going to rock with you there, too. I think the Bears are too banged up. Terrible head coach, Matt Eberflus. He's going to be the first or one of the first to go. He bought himself another week with a win over Carolina this past week. The Pittsburgh Steelers play in Cleveland against the Browns. The Browns 3.5-point favorites over Mike Tomlin and co.
Yeah, back-to-back tough games for Cleveland going up against AFC North teams. Somehow the Steelers are 6-3. The Browns are right there with them. It's a crazy division, the AFC North, a division that should not be as good as it is in terms of wins. I'm going to have to go with Cleveland in this matchup because I believe the Browns lost the first one against the Steelers. So give me the Cleveland Browns in this game. I think Watson is finally finding something other than a masseuse this season. So feel a good second half for him last week. He completed every single pass. They won the game, came back versus a great Baltimore Ravens team. So I'm going to take the Browns in that one.
I'm going to rock with the Browns, too, simply because they are the home team, and I think they're playing motivated football right now. The Dallas Cowboys take on the Panthers and Charlotte. The visiting Dallas Cowboys, 10.5-point favorites there on the road.
A lot of crazy spreads this week, a lot of bad games. I'm going to have to take the Cowboys in this one, and the Panthers don't have a first-round pick next season, so they're not trying to tank, but they just have nothing going for them. Bryce Young is trying to grow as a player, but again, the team sucks. It's going to be tough for a guy that's 5'9" at the most to see over an offensive line in the NFL and play with these receivers that he can't throw 50-50 balls to. Give me the Cowboys in that game by over 10 points.
I'm going to take the Cowboys to win the game, but I'm going to take Carolina. This one's for Steven. I'm taking Carolina to backdoor cover, and they might lose by like 9, something like that. Seattle Seahawks at the Rams. The Rams 1-point underdogs against the Seattle team.
Yeah, I'm going to take Seattle in this game as well. I just don't think that game. Obviously, it's an NFC West game, so it is going to be a little bit of a battle between those two. But I'm taking Seattle in that one by over the 1 point in that game.
I'm going to take Seattle as well. And yeah, you know what? At least a field goal victory on the road over the Rams. 4:25 kickoff. Jets at Bills. The Bills 7-point favorites at home, even though they're coming off of a disrespectful loss against Denver on Monday night.
Yeah, 7 points is a lot for the Buffalo Bills. I'm still going to take Buffalo in this game. I don't think it's going to be by 7, and I could even take the New York Jets and feel good about it. But I'm going to go with Buffalo. They need a victory. You can't lose to the Jets before you go on that even more difficult stretch. Luckily, the Jets haven't scored an offensive touchdown in 18 quarters. So give me the Buffalo Bills in that one.
I'm taking the Bills as well. Bounce back game, new OC, new play caller, and I think they're going to go and cover that spread. They're going to win by more than 7. Also Sunday on the road, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers take on the 49ers. Speaking of big spreads, the The 49ers 11.5-point favorites. It's jumped from earlier today. It was 10.5. Now 11.5 for the Niners.
The fact that that's the heaviest spread of the week is kind of crazy considering the other matchups. 11.5 points for the 49ers. I'm going to take the 49ers to win that game. It is in San Francisco, but I'm going to go with the Buccaneers to not be beat by 11.5 points. Hopefully we see something good out of them and maybe even a victory. As a Bucs fan, we're hoping for that. But again, we saw what happened last year with Brady. I'm not sure it's going to get any better in this one with Baker Mayfield. But again, in that game, the Bucs didn't have Winfield. They didn't have Tristan Wirfs, and they didn't have a couple other key pieces. They didn't have Godwin either. This game, you have all three of those. You don't have Brady. Brady wasn't great last year. But still, I'm still going to have to take the San Francisco 49ers in that one. But they're not going to beat the Bucs by 11.5, I hope.
I am going to take the 49ers, and I think that they're going to win by 2 touchdowns. It might be close at some point, and the scoreboard might not reflect the game itself, but I think the 49ers will win by 2 tutties. And then Sunday Night Football, Minnesota Vikings at Denver Broncos. The Broncos 2.5-point favorites.
The Denver Broncos versus the Vikings?
Yes, and Denver.
That's a tough game. Joshua Dobbs, the pastronaut, versus Russell Wilson, who's having a great game or a great season in Denver. We've seen 2 back-to-back big victories for the Vikings. I'm going to take the Denver Broncos in this game to get to 500 on the season. I think the Vikings have just won too many games in a row. A lot of luck for them, but again, I mean, their quarterbacks look great ever since Kirk Cousins has gone down. Joshua Dobbs has done a great job in replacement, but I'm still going to take the Broncos in this one. I think it's going to be a close game. And I think 3 weeks ago we were looking at this game and just saying this is going to be another terrible primetime game. It still might be, but I'm going to take the Broncos in this one over the Joshua Dobbs mania-led Vikings.
Well, I mean, Josh Dobbs, he's been phenomenal. What a story that guy is. Ronnie Lane, obviously a WDAE, a huge Tennessee Volunteers fan, loves Josh Dobbs. He's freaking out over what he's seeing so far with the Viking quarterback. Man, I don't know. I feel like the magic has to run out at some point, and that was a huge win for Denver on Monday Night Football over the Bills. Now Denver back at home. Yeah, I got to go with Denver handing the Vikings a loss, handing Josh Dobbs his first loss. Now Monday Night Football to round out Week 11, Spence. The Philadelphia Eagles at Kansas City Chiefs. This is what we love right here. The Chiefs 3-point favorites over the Eagles.
Eagles, Chiefs, Monday Night Football. We saw what happened in the Super Bowl. And this season, I don't think it's going to be the same result. I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles in this game. Obviously, Jalen Hurts has also had a lot of turnovers this season. But again, the Chiefs wide receiving core is tough to watch sometimes. And I was thinking that they would really go out there and try and do something about that. They did in the draft. They got a rookie wide receiver in Rashee Rice. He's had a decent season. But again, the drops have been crazy for the Chiefs. I'm going to take Philadelphia in this game. I think that their run game is just so good. The tush push is the best weapon in football right now. And I like what I see out of Jalen Hurts, and he's had a week to recover. He's obviously been dealing with an injury this season. So give me the Philadelphia Eagles coming out of a bye week. The Chiefs have also came out of a bye week. They didn't have the same injuries, but I'm going to take Philadelphia and Jalen Hurts in this one. A big victory for them, and I'm going to go with the 3 points. I'm still going to say 3 points, right at 3 points. You said the spread was what?
3 on the dot.
Yeah, I just got to go with that exact 3-point win for the Philadelphia.
So here's my dilemma. If Taylor Swift is in attendance there at Arrowhead Stadium, the Chiefs win. I don't think they covered the spread, but the Chiefs win. If Taylor Swift is not there, the Eagles win, and they're going to win by 3 or more. So that I know I can't pick 2, but I'm picking 2. I need to know if Taylor Swift is there. So that rounds out NFL Pigskin Pick'em. I don't know, man. I think this Taylor Swift karma is for real, man.
Yeah, and it could end dirty, and I kind of hope it does. I want to hear whatever song Taylor or Travis Kelce. I'm not hoping for a fairy tale ending between these two. I don't think anybody really is besides Taylor Swift fans. Even Travis Kelce fans and Chiefs fans are kind of tired of this by now. Luckily, Joshua Dobbs has finally got the NFL to change their header on Twitter from Taylor Swift, so that's a big win. And if the Chiefs lose on Monday night and Taylor Swift isn't in attendance, we may hear some rumors that breakup could be coming soon. I'm sure a new song will be on the way instantly.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're absolutely right. Hopefully that's not the case. I'm hoping that it works out for them because they look happy. It's crazy to say. I thought it was all fad, but I think it's for real. So that will do it for another edition of TCM Pod. Make sure to follow, like, subscribe, comment down below at TCM_pod on all social media. Check out Spencer on social media at L Savage Spence. L Savage Spence. Check us out. And then also follow me as well at the Chris Mathis. We appreciate you.